want to thank the school board for allowing me to come to give the presentation on mobile technology and what it's going to look like inside that classroom. So what is this mobile technology and one-to-one initiative and cloud computing? What is this all about? Well, basically what the cloud is, it's a set of computers. It could be in libraries, universities, businesses, or whatever, that are available to anyone that has internet access 24/7. So for our students, it would be available if they had smartphones or thin clients, desktops, notebooks, tablets, and that kind of stuff. And they would access that, in a sense, cloud of information from their individual devices, and that's where we get the one-to-one. Is for every student there would be one technological device available to them. You might be asking yourselves, why do we need mobile technology? Why do we need this cloud and all this kind of stuff? Well, I'd like you to take a look at this video by Literate Nation. to change the culture of learning in our schools. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? And what part can you play? Become a part of the team and sign up today. There are sign-up sheets in the back of the room. Come share your talents, your experiences, your passions. I'm just going to give you a little bit of peek of what a future classroom might hold. Our new classes are going to be student-centered, where the learning evolves around them and not the teacher or anything else. We want to create for our students some project-based activities that they can collaborate on, that they can work together and solve problems and stuff like that, and that way they can build team unity and learn some real-world skills. Also, speaking of the world, we do need to have our students aware of what's going on in the world, which is a good thing. We need to have them be experienced in what's going on and the other students in other countries and stuff like that. But I think more importantly, what mobile technology is going to do for us, it's going to allow the students not just to learn about the students of the countries, but it's going to enable them to learn with students from other countries. And through that, in this new learning environment, our students will not be daydreamers, but they'll be transformed into dreamweavers. What I propose is that we have a 5-year, 4-phase plan. In the first phase, the year 1, we'd basically doing the planning and the research and development. And I'm going to explain these a little bit further more in depth later on. Phase 2 would be year 2. That's where we would actually get the devices and the hardware, software, and stuff, and we do the installation. And then the second half of the second year is actually when we would roll that out in a pilot program. Phase 3, then we would roll out the mobile learning to all of the students, and that occurs in year 3. And then in years 4 and 5, which is phase 4, we would continually be doing the assessment and adjustments to make it a better culture for our students. Okay, phase 1, year 1. Basically, this is where we're going to start forming the executive committee by looking at the core stakeholders and who those might be. What teachers do we want? What administrative staff or school staff? What community leaders? College and university representatives? Business owners? Those kind of stakeholders that will be impacted by this plan. And they'd create a vision to kind of guide the whole process. A lot of the committees that are formed will start brainstorming and think of what a dream classroom might look like. And so in this creation process, other support or subcommittees, support teams, benchmarks would be thought about and set. The assessments and timelines are going to have to be taken care of and set down. And then also, at some point in time, the budget reports would have to be created and sent to the either finance people or the executive committee. And then again, they would continue with investigation, looking at other schools that have mobile technology already, and what are they doing? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Are there professional educational associations and businesses that could help us out? Are there government agencies? And so that would all occur in the first 6 months of that first year. The second 6 months is going to be a presentation where the teams and the squads are going to do some reporting, reflecting on their goals and benchmarks and how those were accomplished. And then, again, any budget concerns, any modifications would then again be sent up to the either finance committee or the executive team. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what our oversight team is going to look like and what the members are. Obviously, any kind of subcommittees would be their chairpersons would be on the oversight committee. And I think 2 to 3 community representatives, 2 to 3 parent representatives, and 2 to 3 students would be a good mix to be on the oversight committee. Some of the things the oversight committee would be responsible for would be they would be the driving force for the project and making sure that things got done, working with the other committees. They will create and set the policies and the RUP, which is the responsible use policies. And as I said, also they would help the other committees with their goals, timelines, and benchmarks. After the executive committee is formed, then other teams, other subcommittees would need to be formed, and they'd be addressing things like financial goals, student goals, technology team goals, training goals, communication goals, and assessment goals. So let's go a little more in depth on some of the goals, and let's talk about the financial goals first. Obviously, brainstorming ideas, such as sending out capital improvement letters, what grants need to be written, how is this going to affect our budget? Is it going to have a positive effect or a negative effect? Do we need to go to the community on a ballot issue or something like that? They need to set some fundraising goals and some timelines so we can get the equipment when we need it. Also working with the technology team to figure out the cost and submit those budget ideas back up to either a financial committee or to the executive team. And also, are we going to assess technology fees, and what about device insurance and replacement costs? What about digital books and e-books? Can we get those instead of the hard copies, and can that save the money in the budget? And also, what about going to a paperless environment? As I said before, I think we need to involve students early in on the process and give them some ownership. Let them identify some of the social and ethical issues as far as what's right and wrong as far as going on the internet and copyright issues and those kind of things. Also, what if a student was caught cheating with a mobile device, and how would that be handled? Also, they could tell us what the best technology is. What are they using, and what are they comfortable with? What would their vision for a mobile learning environment be? What would they create? Also have them develop their own responsible use policy. They could also identify any concerns or challenges that need to be addressed, and they could determine a policy for lost, stolen, or damaged devices, and how we should handle tech fees, and maybe data plans and that kind of stuff. Also, they might be able to identify and give us some idea and some insight on how to solve the digital divide and any equity issues with students. Some of the technology goals we need to be thinking about is to research and identify the best infrastructure that we can possibly get, and also make it scalable. This is where a lot of places fail when they don't purchase and get the best infrastructure. And we're talking about the cabling and some of the hardware devices that we need to get, like fiber optic. If we can afford it, we need to get fiber optic. Because these kind of infrastructure devices and stuff, they last 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And so, and it's also usually harder to replace them. It's harder to replace a cable than it is a computer or a device sitting on the shelf. Also, the technology team or group would be identifying the devices and the services that we would require, and the internet service providers, fees, and those kind of things, software devices or software that we need. Also, they would be submitting a cost analysis of the purchase and for the implementation, and any kind of ongoing maintenance that we need that would have to be addressed as well. And all this would again be given over to the finance committee or those involved with the budget. And then also they would work with the executive team and the students to come up with a RUP or a reasonable use policy. Okay, some of the things those involved in the training and setting goals Obviously, they'd be doing some brainstorming and kind of get some ideas. They would be doing some research. Other districts and other schools that have training programs, what do they do? How do they handle that? Maybe it'd be through some kind of technology training camps for credit for the students, and for teachers it could be CEUs. There was a school that what they did with the professional development, they had weekly in-school huddles, and the special teachers would be having classes with the students when all the other teachers would meet together with their grade level counterparts, or maybe their content areas, and discuss the issues at hand and also get further training. And the other side of it would be that when the students were in the other classrooms, then the specialty teachers would be able to get together for their huddle. Also, a school needs to also look at, and what we need to look at is maybe some professional certifications, like maybe CompTIA and their A+ certification, their premier certification organization, and Cisco Academies that we can maybe get into the school, and even have the students get some college credits, possibly. Also, what about creating after-school programs and workshops that adults could attend? And then, of course, always we want to assess any kind of training and strategies and see how those are working for us. Okay, some of our communication goals would be, well, when are we going to communicate, and how, and with whom? We need to create various communication vehicles, and that might be a website, it could be a blog, it could be a forum that we could, stakeholders and people could ask questions, get some feedback, that kind of stuff. And then also those that are involved in the communication committee or whatever would be collecting, compiling, and disseminating those minutes, not only back out to the other committees, but to the executive committee and the community and the other stakeholders. They would also, I think it'd be important for them to communicate to the school and the staff, the team members there, such as the bus drivers and the cafeteria workers. In other words, if a student comes on a bus or in the cafeteria, are they allowed to have cell phones? And what about walking in the halls and the hallway monitors? They need to be aware of what the students are allowed to do. Okay, phase 2 starts the second year, and that involves our procurement, getting all the devices and having them shipped to the school, the installation process, and then on the second semester of the second year would be the actual rollout, where we invite students to bring their devices to school. During the installation of the infrastructure and the devices, we're going to be pulling cable, running network cabling, stuff like fiber optic is what I would suggest, as I said before. We'd be connecting those to our patch panels and switches and our servers, testing out our wireless access points, the routers for functionality and stuff like that, creating our firewalls to make sure that our systems are secure, and also deploying any associated software packages that would need to be done, and also checking the availability of the various types of devices, smartphones, tablets, those where they connect to our network, and how does that work, and how would we manage that? Those are some issues we need to work out and to make sure that we're doing that safely and securely. Some of the things concerning the bandwidth issues is we probably want to start out with about 100 kilobytes per second as far as our bandwidth to start with. According to the Arkansas Department of Education 2013 survey, the average over 254 districts statewide was 72 kilobytes per second per user. And so I think they were going to move to 100 kilobytes bandwidth for their state. And so that looks like a good place to start. Not that it's going to be the only thing we do or the most we do. We can always increase that later on. Professional development would begin at this time, and we would need to make sure that teachers were aware of how to use these devices, put some of those devices in their hands, and help them to create some curriculum and units or lessons where they can actually test drive how these devices will work, what it will look like to the students, and how they might teach their lessons. And also on a professional development side, we might need to introduce them and give them in-depth training, not just like a half hour or an hour workshop or a half a day, but like continuing week by week professional development on things like Edmodo or Dropbox, you know, Screencast-O-Matic, you know, various other tools that they could use in their classroom. Also for students at this time, we would also want them, before we do the rollout, to go through some kind of a internet training camp. Again, as I said before, that could be even allow them to get credit for going through that training. And that brings us to the second semester. This is where we, again, tell the students, the senior high students, to bring your devices to school. We'd be setting it up, making sure that the password technology and all that kind of works. In addition to this, we would also at the same time be getting assessment and feedback from the teachers and the students and parents. You know, how well is this working? You know, are we seeing students more focused in the classroom? Are we having less discipline issues? Is school attendance rising? You know, and so those kind of things, and you know, that's something we want to check on. Our last phase, phase 4, basically is the assessment and the adjustment phase, and that'd be in years 4 and 5. And again, this just continues our assessment and how we can make our system better. Beginning with the rollout in year 2, we had what was called formative and summative assessments. And basically this is test scores that we've seen. You know, were the test scores, did they start increasing? Did the students' GPA increase? Or did it decrease? You know, what about the projects? What did they look like? Were they better? Were more on task? Did they do a better job and stuff like that? And were there any areas that the teachers saw during those assessment times where maybe students need some more help, or we need to make some more adjustments? And so we kind of need to look at those kind of assessments. But there's also anecdotal evidence. Teachers would have noticed that, you know, maybe their students were more on task. That when they came to class, they were getting out their cell phones and devices and starting to work right away. You know, the question is, were the students more focused? Were they staying on task longer? Did parents notice that they didn't have to remind their students to get do their homework? That they were, you know, coming home and getting on the internet and getting their projects and stuff done. Other than the basic test scores and these kind of assessments, the question would be is, well, did the discipline rates go down? Did the graduation rates go up? And what about college enrollments? Did those improve? And so all these kind of assessments we want to do on a continued basis so we can adjust to make our mobile learning a success. Thank you for paying attention. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to see me later. Thank you.